I watched on local news the one entitled "Interior Health Raises Concerns About Sycamore's Proposed Park Drug Use Ban." First, the headline, particularly the last 4 words, "Park Drug Use Ban." There's a bylaw that already states no consumption of alcohol in the park. How is drug use any different? Both are physically and mentally altering, both are addictive, both cause loss of inhibition, both can cause criminal behaviors. However, the one that is legally available for purchase and consumption is banned from public use. The one that, although not a criminal offense to carry, 2.5 grams, is still illegal to purchase and produce, is not. Where is the logic here? Illegal is contrary or forbidden by law, especially criminal law. Possession of any drugs for the purposes of trafficking, production, or export across or within Canada's borders remains crime. Even with a 3-year temporary exemption, the above stated is still in effect. So what is being said here is that although it's not a criminal offense to possess it, the very act of buying or selling it is. For the record, I'm an addict in recovery, and I'll speak from my personal experiences. Dr. Jonathan Mallow raises concerns that implementing bylaws reinforces stigma associated with drug use, that such enforcement may encourage people to use alone, increasing the risk of death due to the toxic drug supply. Here's a thought. All drugs are toxic in some way. All drugs cause changes to the user. All drugs are dangerous. By normalizing use, allowing public consumption, I believe we are just feeding an addictive culture. The addictive culture is being normalized. We have the methadone program. Marijuana is now legal. By decriminalizing 2.5 grams of hard drugs, we'll see that use normalized as well. We don't just have a toxic supply, we have dangerous ideals surrounding it. Until some major changes are made to make treatment rehab readily available to all who need it, this will continue. Dr. Fenton is asking the public to remember that people who use drugs are not inherently dangerous. Really? How many crimes are committed just to obtain those drugs? How many addicts lie, cheat, steal to fuel their addiction? Because the act of buying or selling drugs is dangerous. People who use drugs are committing dangerous acts often. Not all users are the same. Some may use and don't have any issues at all. Some may use and rob a store just in the pursuit of more. I think we need to look at the bigger picture here. For argument's sake, let's go with Dr. Fenton for a moment. I believe that the actual use of drugs in public is dangerous. It's dangerous for children to see. It's dangerous for someone who's new in recovery to see. I also believe that her statement that people who use drugs don't want to harm others is a big reach. Drug users harm others every time they use. It may not be intentional, but it happens. They all have families that care about them. They hurt their families every time they use. In closing, I'd just like to reiterate, we do not just have a toxic supply of drugs. We have very, very dangerous ideals surrounding the problem. Pardon me, dental work today. I believe we need to start looking for viable ways to get treatment and help to those who are so desperately in need of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Any questions for Lori?
Comments? Go ahead, Councillor Bailey.
Say thank you very much for being very courageous and coming forward with that. I think it's obviously hard to do. And I think you're to be commended for it, and I just want to thank you for it.
Thanks, Lori. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Beach.
Yes, thank you, Lori. And I think that I know personally, totally what you've described is what we're feeling in terms of the dangers of this decriminalization being handed down the way it has been. And so thank you for speaking up. and it helps us.
I hope so.
Stanford.
Yes, again, thank you. Councillor Rich, go ahead.
Through the chair. Thank you, Lori, for being here. I have a question and mine would be, what would you see? Do you think that the parks bylaw would be something that is good for the council to move forward, or that other things as a community member?
As a member of this community, I would just like to commend all of you on council and our mayor. I think this bylaw is not just a good idea. I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary to keep our children safe, to keep our parks safe. We were just in Kamloops on Friday and pulled into a little gas station. And there were 3 unfortunate souls sitting there using drugs in public. Now, of course, this is Kamloops, it's a bigger community. But how do you explain that to your children? How do we say, no, you can't do that, but they can? This is bad for you, but it's okay for them. And again, you guys should be commended for the courage you're showing, taking on interior health. I wouldn't want to do it by myself.
Go ahead, Councillor Beach.
So Lori, we have that bylaw. What else? If you, because you've lived it, you are living it still. What else are we? How can we lobby? And what should we lobby for? If we were to go forward with, just to go forward with the best solution for this community and other rural communities like us, what would you see?
I would see help more readily available. I know myself, my own personal experience. If nobody had answered that call when I made the call for help initially, in that moment of clarity, shall we say, that if they'd have answered the phone and said, I'm sorry, we can't take you for 9 months, I wouldn't be here today. Because you have an instant when that addict says, I'm ready. And we don't have the facilities. Here in Sycamoose, what I think we could look at doing, I know pushback on it would be, look at building a treatment facility. Take some rural property somewhere. We don't need the boutique facilities. We don't need people going to yoga every day. It's a great thing. But when you're paying that amount of money for a month per person, you should get results. If we had a facility that was run by addicts for addicts, I think we would see progress. But we really need to get people on board with stuff like that. Hopefully the government one day will see that.
Thank you very much, Lori. Appreciate you being here. And I agree. I do think a rural approach is definitely better than a city approach. I agree with you, adding more beds into a concrete jungle as opposed to having this rural, healthy country feel, because Mother Nature does heal. So I think they are better solutions, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, staff reports, December 22nd, financial report. Bianca.
Yeah, so I don't really want to follow that, to be honest with you, this is very boring. This is a report to council. I hope most of you had time to read it. Going over our 2022 financial results. So the report to council kind of outlines all the different line items. Overall, our financial results for 2022 were quite in line, operations wise for our general budget, which is drawn through our general tax revenue. If there's any questions on the general budget versus actuals, I can take them or carry on.
So any questions?
In general, Yeah.
Counselor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, I just wanted to thank Bianca for doing a great job. This looks really good. I did go through it last night and do in detail and it's really good. And being your first for your first budget with us, really wanted to, we really appreciate it. Thanks very much for everything.
Nice, easy templates to follow, I have to say. Kelly has everything very organized.
Good job. Thank you.
And then water and sewer, water was quite I would say it was pretty bang on. Good job, Daryl. Sewer, we did have lower consumption than we had budgeted for. We kind of base it on average consumption over a time frame. So we had a little bit less consumption. So our sewer revenues were down a bit. And then we also had some higher fees that we had to pay, just increased prices. And I would say mostly inflationary material costs going up, which we're taking forward to our 2023 budget and making those adjustments for sewer. And we'll be reviewing sewer and water rates this summer. So to bring those back up and making sure we're putting enough to reserves and maintaining those reserves. So if there's any questions on water or sewer.
Go ahead, Counselor Bailey.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Councillor Bushel said, doing a great job. I'm known for maybe grilling some people, but I got nothing on you. So, it's welcome to the team and thank you very much for guiding us through this finance process.
Yeah, that's all I got, and lots of reading material there, and our auditors, I think today was their last day in the office. They're going back, and so far they've been happy with what they've been seeing, so that's good, and we'll get that. They usually take it back for a few weeks, so we'll be coming back to council just for final approval of the financial statements, but no real numbers changing from what you see in front of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bianca. Great job. Okay, recommendation that council award a 3-year contract for services for Sorry, Daryl, I didn't realize that you had a presentation.
Through the chair, it's really not all that. I've got a few slides of
Okay,
service area. It's pretty straightforward. We have a mosquito abatement program. We've had BWP consulting that's come in and done the work for us for the last 14 years. Last year, the contract expired, so we went back out to market this year. They were the only ones that responded. They came in a little higher than the last 3-year contract we had, so we negotiated a little better price with them, and I'm just recommending that we get them going, get them ordering some product and get ready for summer. Just some of the areas that they're clearly all over the place. We've got 144 locations that they're actively monitoring and treating, and that's a fluid number. So if they see puddles when they're out in a helicopter, they add it to their list and they're all over it.
okay. All right, so the recommendation that council award a 3-year contract for the services for mosquito abatement to BWP Consulting at an annual contract price of $121,110 plus GST. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bushel, Councillor Rich, discussion. Does anyone have any questions for Daryl? Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Through the chair, Daryl, I've had a lot of people where I live. Mosquitoes weren't a problem last year, but they were wondering last summer, it seemed to be a little worse. So I just bring that up in this process. I'm going to vote for this, but I was just wondering what you thought.
Yeah, through the chair, I wouldn't argue. We had a really wet spring, and I think there were some challenges with the staffing or the experience of the staffing. We've talked about that going forward. I expect that to be resolved.
Okay, mosquito free. Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair there, Daryl. Yeah, I noticed that there's disbursement of the helicopter use has gone down. It seems like it's gone down to they use less product, but that yet the costs have gone up. Is there any reason for that, or You know, I knew,
Yeah, through the chair, the big jump from the last contract was primarily labor. It was just staffing and the money allocated to the hours out in the field.
okay. Yeah, no, they're doing a great job. I mean, I remember the year we didn't do mosquito control and it was pretty unbearable. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, communications policy number A-33. I'll read the recommendation first. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Recommendation of the District of Sycamore Communications Policy number A-33 be adopted 22nd day of March 2023. Can I get a mover? Councillor Evans, second by Councillor McCabe. Okay, Sarah, you have a bit of a presentation before we question.
And I'm feeling very nervous tonight for some reason. So staff is presenting this communications policy. So it encompasses internal communications and external. The district currently has a social media policy and a visual identity policy. It was lacking a comprehensive communications policy, which is why it was drafted. This drafting began in the summer alongside our communications student, Campton Hancock. So we've been looking at it for some time. In drafting it, we conducted an internal communications survey. We researched other communities that have policies currently, such as Revelstoke and Golden, among others. And we also looked at best practices. So there's a small town PR playbook that was created by rural communities in northern area of the province. So we've encompassed all of those into this policy and really just wanting to identify objectives and guiding principles for the district around communication and the district's intent to prioritize communication and transparency overall. So the recommendation is that council would adopt this policy, although I imagine that there may be questions or possible amendments that need to be considered. So I'll open it up to discussion from council.
Council, go ahead. Any questions? Come on, Councillor Bailey.
I'm getting a little tired today to be honest. Like, yeah, sorry, I'm running out of steam for good reason at this point, but I think we've discussed kind of earlier on the need for counselors to be covered under a code of conduct and what we expect out of our elected officials in that realm. I've dealt with a lot of communications policies. I think this is a corporate communications policy and it's very appropriate and very well done. I don't know if it has direct applications to people who are elected. That's my only concern here. Certainly saying who's the spokesperson of the district and all that stuff is very, I mean, that's straightforward. The mayor speaks on behalf of council, after council makes decision. That's not where I think I have any issues with this. It's just when I guess it's just some of the language in there where it relates to an elected person. That's my only concern, is because an elected person should have some really broad latitude to go out there and talk and converse, not represent, council or not represent council decisions, but to communicate with the public on any number of different things, right? There's a lot of different pet projects around this council table, right? Malcolm with the pedestrian bridge and things, and he should have that opportunity to go out and discuss and even build support for that, amongst the public. So I just want to highlight that maybe some of these communications things could be interpreted as something else. And I guess that's my only highlight. If no one else has any problem with it, I don't have any problem with it. I guess we're gonna talk about code of conduct as well. And I don't want to drag this out.
Thanks, Councillor Bailey. I would just like to add to that. Yeah, we all run on a portfolio system, right? So we all do have, you're correct, our pet projects. I don't think any of us not talk to the public about what we know, as far as if Malcolm's doing something with the pedestrian bridge. I'm not sure of the answer. I will send someone to talk to Malcolm, but I think we do have a good, robust conversation with community members when they come and ask questions. I mean, I do. So as long as I know what the point on the topic is. So, anyone else? Counselor Evans?
Thanks. I went over this and I think it's really good. I think that implicit in it is the guidelines for us as counselors. And I mean, it's very clear and it reaffirms to me that I have to be very careful as a counselor about what I say in any public way, whether it's online or over a coffee, about not crossing a line that's not mine to cross, about being a spokesperson. So I think it's a great policy.
Anyone else? Sarah, go ahead.
I'd just like to add that the communication, the intent, the policy, the intent is not to stifle council. A lot of the policy does apply more directly to staff. Like, for example, we're not expecting council to go out and write in Canadian Press style, right? I mean, just in general, it applies to, you know, the whole organization. There are the spokesperson piece that's in relation to media requests, right? So the official spokesperson would be the mayor or designate or whoever else she may ask to present in her place. It's just around having those guidelines of how we approach media requests in that piece. And so, and again, you know, we have our social media policy that addresses certain ways of interacting, but in no way was it meant to stifle council. It's about, you know, committing to communication and transparency and having, you know, some guidelines in place.
Absolutely. Any more questions from council's comments? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, development variance permit 20-070 DVP. 01, I think that is Sycamus Creek Frontage Road. It's a recommendation that council authorize and issue development variance permit number 23070 DVP to vary the Sycamus subdivision and development servicing bylaw number 500, 2003, sections 5.01 and 5.02 to defer the construction of Sycamus Creek Frontage Road to the next phase of development for the proposed subdivision and to vary the RD-1 road cross-section to an alternative cross-section. And I guess, Sarah, you're going to be oh, could I get a mover? Sorry. Councillor Bushel, Councillor Beach. Sarah, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Chair. I'm Sarah Martin. I'm the planner for the district. For those of you online viewing this later on,
Sarah, I'm going to have to get you to speak up or grab a mic because I can't even hear you from here. So pull it right close to you and right to your mouth, please.
thank you, Chair. For everyone online and those watching this later on YouTube, I'm Sarah Martin. I'm the planner for the district. The proponent, Grayson Weir, is here online. And we have a couple of representatives from the agent, Gentech Engineering, that are in the gallery today.
And before we move forward, can you guys hear Sarah back there? Because Sarah, maybe we should move you to the podium if you want to take your notes, because it's important that everybody hear you. Thank you.
All right.
That's better.
Looks better. Awesome. So here's the location of the subject properties. Is down by 2 Mile, the furthest south part of the district. Sycamus is just along the Highway 97A, and it's just south of Montcalm Crescent. Everyone is familiar with that location. So the subject area of the property is actually on the north side of the 97A. The property on the south, it's steeply sloped. It's on the side of the mountain. It's not currently under proposal for development. So the property is designated in our official community plan as residential low density and is zoned R1 and 2 unit residential. So when I say that, I'm speaking to the north portion of the parcel. That's that light color as opposed to the pink color on the south side. So the current proposal is actually for that north side, which is on the north side of Wiseman Creek. It's for a 14 lot residential subdivision. They're proposing to put in a walkway that would run between the park, Rockies Beach, and the new subdivision. And they're also proposing an alternative road cross section for 2 of the roads. So the new road that would be dedicated in the subdivision, and then the portion that would go into the southern future development area of the property. So part of the subdivision process would include dedication of the intersection. So there are requirements to do an intersection upgrade at Moncton and 97A kind of leading into this development. It's more triggered by future development of the southern portion of the parcel, which would have a higher density, more commercial recreational use. So they're also looking to defer those upgrades for that reason, for that intersection. So this is all secured by an existing covenant. So the recommendation from the Planning and Development Committee for this one was to support the requested variances. We did get one response to the notification to the development variance permit that was mailed out. And that was from one of the property owners that backs onto the subdivision on the north side. They had just had some concerns about the road being right there and a request for some fencing. Next slide, please. So these are the proposed variances. So variance 1 is to defer the intersection upgrades to the next phase and to vary the road cross section from RD2 to RD11. So this is in our subdivision and development servicing bylaw that sets out what different road cross sections would look like in different parts of town. The second variance would be to vary the dedicated road width from 18 meters, which is the RD1 cross section, which currently applies, to a 16 meter designation. And that would include a 2 meter active transportation corridor along the side. And from here, I'm gonna let this go to our operations and engineering manager, Mr. Daryl Kimball.
Sure.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Sure. Nope, Sarah said it very well. I mean, there's obviously a piece that would trigger MOTI wanting to see that intersection changed at some point. We're not there yet. This is what they want to do. And MOTI is good with that. So they want to defer that road till later. We're happy with that. As long as council's happy with that. And the other change was just a little bit of tweaking with the road width and what that's going to look like. And we've got that all but ironed out. I mean, there's some fine details we can talk about, but in principle, we're comfortable with it through operations. So yeah, we're anxious to just get going.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor McCabe. And I think Grayson is online too, so.
It's more of a procedural question, like when council's presented with variances, I would appreciate them if they're one decision at a time. So this could be, in my opinion, 3 different requests, because I might agree with deferring the next phase of a road upgrade because MOT agrees and it's a big cost, but I might not agree with changing the road cross section. So how do I vote on that then? Because there's 2 decisions in one variance. So I'm just thinking, maybe in the future, I know it's extra work and there's more verbiage, but so in this decision, we have 3 different decisions in one variance, one application. I'm probably going to vote for all 3 of them because staff is recommending it. I question the narrower road for snow removal and stuff, but staff thinks that's okay. So it's just a higher level comment about, I prefer to see one request in one at a time, so they're not mixed and it's easier to make a decision.
Okay. Thank you, Malcolm. And maybe Daryl, and Sarah, we can look at that in the future. Maybe just split them into 3. Councillor.
I'll do Robert's rules of oil, but rules of order, point of information. I think you could just motion to divide. And that's how you do it.
Well, there's other ways, but
Right.
the easiest upfront way is the staff deal with it before we say.
No, I was just saying that if you wanted to do that, that's.
Any other comments? Councillor Bushel?
Yeah, through the chair, I just wanted to thank staff for putting this all together. This is a big subdivision for 2 Mile, and I think it's a great asset to the community. Daryl, you and the crew, your staff went to work with Grayson and their consultants and made this possible. So thank you very much. This is really important.
Any other?
Just make a comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, this came before planning and development. I think it's a plot of land that has sat there vacant for a number of years now. And I think this balances the need for something on that property, but with also a plan in the future to develop more of that property. So I support this, and I think it'll be a good thing for our town.
Perfect. Any other comments? I'll call the question then. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, park agreement, Sycamore Creek Frontage Road. Recommendation that staff be directed to discharge section 219, covenant CA 2949852, park agreement, and prepare a new section 219 covenant park agreement at 01 Sycamore Creek Frontage Road based on the information provided in this report. Could I get a mover? Councillor Evans, Councillor Bushel. Sarah, take it away.
Next slide, please. So the proposed park agreement. This diagram shows where the existing agreement is and our existing park dedication and where the new proposed park would be. So the yellow is where Flocky's Beach is. The green is where our existing agreement is in place for. And then the striped hatched area is the proposed replacement for that solid green area. So what this does is provides to the district a gravel walkway along the south side of the property. There's that long, narrow kind of piece there. Yeah. So that will provide access from the cul-de-sac that would be built at the end of the front road down to the beach. Portions of that will be directly dedicated as parkland. There is a statutory right-of-way dedication there that would cover off access to the beach as well as access to the marina for the upland property. And then from there, so part of the existing parkland agreement talks about a beach management area. So where there would be upland consent and support for the district to apply for a license of occupation for the beach there and would manage that as a park. So in terms of looking at this, the new proposed park land dedication is a bit larger than the original. So basically staff are just looking for the support of council to renegotiate the existing parkland agreement. And once that's complete, the old one would be discharged and the new one would be registered on title as part of the subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Gord, this came to planning committee. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, this did come to the planning committee and again, like to thank staff for putting this deal together. It really rounds out the entire project and has a flow through for pedestrians and access to the Flocky's Beach. So yeah, I think it's a much needed asset for the community, and I thank the developer and the staff for putting this together.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
I was gonna go out there today, but I didn't get a chance and double booked. My question is, which is the better beach? I'm a strong supporter for public access to water. Are we giving up? Yes, we're getting a larger area, but are we getting a better beach or is the existing beach better? Which is the nicer beach? Sure, if you swap around, then you got waterfront lots that have their own. There's no such thing as a private beach. It's public to the high water mark, but yeah, I question. I wouldn't mind also maybe going out there and have a look at the beach, which is the better beach. Are we giving up a good beach for lesser, not as nice? I'm not sure.
Sorry, may I interject? I'm with Gentech. I'm with the the civil consultant for the project.
You just want to state your name, please?
My name is Sam Wilbeth.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, you can.
Just gonna come up to the screen. We're not proposing to take away any access to the existing beach. This zone in yellow, that is your current park, that remains. The original agreement had a little bit extra tacked on to the front of the property that came around and down along this southern portion north of the creek and stopped at that point. What we're requesting is that we do not provide this strip of section in front of the existing property. And in exchange, we add this section at the bottom right along the highway, which was not provided in the previous agreement. This allows for us to build up a gravel pathway down to the public beach that Sycamus already owns, from my understanding, or operates. This should also allow for people to stop, to limit people from parking on the highway as they do now to access the public beach down here. So we're not actually taking away any public access at all. We just would like to utilize the space that the lot currently has to its potential and leave the existing park space as it stands.
Thanks.
Where would the parking be?
So just, Councillor Evans?
Just in response to Councillor McCabe's question, I would say with the numbers of people using it, that the beach that we're looking at making even better is the one that's more populated anyway, because they love it. And so me and my wife go to the other one, but that one's got more people. So I think that kind of answers the question of which one is really.
Councillor Rich?
Through the chair, a question, or maybe a comment. There will be a barrier between the lots and the beach, right? So that the people that are buying those lots will be well aware that they don't own beachfront, that is private.
Correct.
Public.
Yes, as part of the riparian report, we are required to put a physical barrier along the SPIA zone, the environmental protection area. So this red line that's along the top here comes around up and all the way up here, well, not park space. This is where we will have a physical barrier, which will be a split rail fence or equivalent.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, just a question for staff here. The statutory right of way that's going along the beach, that's correct? And then the reason it's not colored in green is because it is a public beach currently, and that remains.
So it's representing a statutory right of way as opposed to an actual parkland dedication. So parkland dedication, it's sort of like a parcel. So the land becomes property of the district, and its legal description will say park on it. It's a legal type of land. I don't know how I will explain.
No, I just want to make it perfectly clear that beach that so many people enjoy, it will remain a beach with a right of way in order to access it, correct?
Exactly. So
On, I'll start pointing at this.
Because it's a little unclear.
Yeah, so the actual parcel boundary runs kind of along here. But the thing is where the high water mark is, everything below that would be subject to the crown. So we would need a license, right? So that's why there's not really anything showing here, because that's where our license of occupation would be. So what isn't shown on here is our current license of occupation, which is for the swimming area that fronts Flocky's Beach currently. So we would basically be going to the province and making an application to expand that. And it would overlap with the marina tenure that's currently there. And there would be conditions, of course, to make sure there's no interference in that regard. So basically what they're asking us to do is to shift where our walkway would be down a bit from here so that this land would be part of the parcel. Property owners won't be able to use it. There'll be a fence there, but it's what it is.
Thanks.
Yeah, Council, any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Burke.
The chair, just to add to that, anything below the high water mark is public access. I mean, people can pull up with a boat or whatever. It's actually all public. And the walkway itself, the statutory right of way is similar to what's on the channel. There's a statutory right of way and people can walk up and down and back and forth as much as they want. Most of the people that go to the beach are in front of the old hotel zone. They park along the highway and they go to, in the statutory right of way. And that's where they go to the beach. And it will continue to be a beach, and all the way down to the Tecumseh will be a beach. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bushel. Councillor McCabe.
So, thank you through the chair. Where's the parking proposed for the new access?
Go ahead, Sarah.
So there are 10 parking stalls that would be part of the alternative road cross section for the frontage road down at the cul-de-sac there, where Kelly's motioning for you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Council, any other questions? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Sam. Okay, moving right along. Yes, Sarah, don't be moving anywhere yet. Development variance permit number 23-012- DVP 49-1383 Silver Sands Road. The recommendation that council refer development variance permit number 23-012- DVP back to staff, and that the applicant work with staff to reduce the requested variance. Sarah, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. So the proponent, Stephen Rubelauer and his wife are both here in the gallery. So you can see here on our ortho, the location of the subject property, you may be familiar, it's just on the other side of the Trans-Canada and the rail line, and is bordered by the Eagle River. The parcel in question is a storage lot along the south side of the property, and it's outlined in a thicker black line there. Next slide and next slide. Thanks. So the official community plan designates the strata as residential medium density waterfront. The zoning there is R1 recreational vehicle park. Next slide. The proposal is for a 45 square meter garage and 1 parking stall. So you can see here what the garage would look like. There's a small on the side there on the left side of the screen that is just a small bump out off the building. The requested variances here. So we've got the site plan. The internal strata road is on the top of the site plan. So the garage would be accessed from the top of the screen there. So the proponent is requesting to vary the front setbacks of this building from 3 meters to 1.7 meters, and the interior side setback from 1.5 meters to 0 meters, which is about 18 inches. And here's the recommendation.
Okay, so we'll have, I've already read the recommendation, so could I get a firster on it? Thank you, Councillor Bushel. Thank you, Councillor Evans. Okay, let's open this up for discussion then. Council, actually, Gord, do you want to kick it off because this came to the.
Okay. Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, this came to the planning committee last planning meeting that we had, and I kind of thought we had this all under order. I went over today and had a good look at the site and looked at the other developments that were put up, you know, the other storage facilities, and they all have some pretty tight variances on them. I think they all had variances to be able to do what they did. This proponent put his development permit in, I think, before our zoning bylaw came into play. And then it was pushed back, and then of course our bylaw came in, and the variances were changed. But anyways, I looked at it. I did email Brett today. Brett doesn't recommend it because he calls it I think he calls it a firefighting restriction. That property is exposed on the front and the back. Fire hydrants just off the back corner. You know, I don't know. I know Brett, it's going to be built with, you know, to code and to fireproofing. And it's also, it's not going to have any electrical. It's not going to have, you know, it's not going to have any, you know, fuel burning or anything like that in there. It's just a storage garage. we supported it unanimously, our planning committee last term, so I'm surprised that it's being turned back. So that's where we're at. We'll open the floor to debate.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I think that's an important point that's not in the presentation, that this did come to planning and development. And we actually amended the recommendation, I think, Sarah, to where the planning and development committee said, no, we recommend that the project goes forward as, with the variance of 0.5. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chair. Yeah. So there's a little, I went over and I looked at the site too. I mean, it's a very tightly compact site where, it's much like a storage kind of units if you had over there. And, the proponent is proposing to put a fire separation there. There's plenty of fire hydrants as well, and the ability, from our understanding, for the fire trucks or the fire hoses to actually get the water onto the actual physical property. So I take the fire chief's comments about possibly creating a precedent, but there's a lot of precedent already there. And I think that's just something we need to manage. But I sat there, we looked at this, and I still support it as is. And but yeah, the rest of council should know that we did change the recommendation and it was unanimous at planning and development. I just want to point that out. Thanks.
Councillor Beach.
Thank you. Through the chair. Do we know how narrow all the other variances are? Like, is this narrower than most variances that have been applied for over there? I'm noting that we got an extra communication from the fire chief today expressing the same concern. So he's not able to be here, but he made that effort. So
I think that there are a lot of, I think that's morphed into a whole a situation. Like the variances are all different. So yes, the fire chief, and we do appreciate, his comments, but there's some in there that are as narrow, the variances, or it's just, there's a lot, it's an anomaly. But I'm going to have, perhaps Kenny, did you want to speak to this? Thank you.
So those of you that know me, my name is Kenny Gibbs. I am the chief building official for the district of Sycamoose. I did take a look through the fire chief's recommendations in there, and I understand where he's coming from. Ultimately, I have discussed this proposal with the applicant. They are aware that they are going to have to meet the fire separation requirements, the fire rating requirements, the projection of the eaves, everything along those lines. I know one of the main concerns in the fire chief's report was regarding the structure being located outside of the 10-minute response time. That is something recently that's been brought to our attention that we're now looking at. But ultimately, this is why the building code exists. It's there to prevent the spread of fire to neighboring properties and to put protections in place to allow for these structures to be built to these setbacks. So ultimately, when the permit does get issued, it will be meeting all of the fire separation and rating requirements, as well as the separation for the eaves. At 0.5 of a meter, the code allows you to have a very small eave, but it would only go to a 0.45 of a meter from property line. So with some level of protection on that as well. So there will be protection measures in place as per the code requirements.
Thank you, Kenny. Councillor McCabe, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just not clear what staff is after here, because they're recommending to defer. So what would staff like to see here?
Through the chair. So the staff report does include alternative options for council that does allow council to either issue it as requested, which is what the draft permit is that's been presented in the staff report is for what the proponent has asked for. So council could do that. The other option would be to come to a compromise and go for a variance that reflects what the previous zone allowed, which was 1 meter storage lot. That would help address both the fire chief's ongoing concerns with the property, as well as try to satisfy the proponent's desire to create a little more space for a parking stall in the storage lot. So they are pretty small, so it is hard to kind of accommodate multiple purposes in those little lots. And I'll just take this moment just to let everybody know that the recommendation on the staff report and the slides is the recommendation of staff. And then the Planning and Development Committee recommendation is actually in a table on here. And I will endeavor to make sure we include that recommendation in the slides.
Thank you.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, the proponent is here tonight and I did talk to him today. He came out and he saw me out there taking pictures and he came out and we forgot to mention that this is in a strata and the strata has approved it. And I mean, we're never going to stop the train or stop, you know, the train's going to always be stopping traffic and the fire department might not get there because the trains, you know, the train stopped on the tracks. But you can't stop progress in the community. And it's not like there's somebody living in these. They'll never allow anybody to live in these. They're just garages that people put their equipment in. And there's no power, no water, anything like that to these units. And you know, I just think that it's no big, it's hardly larger than a garage storage shed. And you're not going to get inside that and fight a fire. And you're not going to even go between them and fight a fire. Even the ones with a variance that don't have a variance, you're not going to get in between that and fight a fire. They're like shooting a hose from here to Pam. They're not very, you know, they're not very big. So on the other side, you can access it from the back from Silver Sands Road. This in front of this unit, there's a huge area the size of this room, if not bigger, way bigger, that you can actually pull a fire truck in and still fight the fire. And Brett's comments that says request variance unacceptable for fighting access. There's a ton of access there. So I do respect Brett's decision, but I like I say, I just can't see the train, the access, not being able to get to the fire because of the train and things like that. It's going to be built to code. I just support this one. It's common sense.
Hey, Councillor Beach.
Thank you. Through the chair, are they all metal? Are the storage units all metal? They're not.
No, they're not. I mean, Kenny can ask that, or even the proponents here who actually managed the resort for 3 years, I think, if you want to get a word from him, but they're not, some have vinyl siding on them.
Okay.
They're close together.
Okay, but they're all storage units. There's no living units in this.
It's just the garage area. It's all just garages along the fence.
Okay. Councillor Bushel, thank you. Any other comments from council? Councillor Bailey.
I just want to, what is the what are we voting on?
We're going to vote on we've got 3 recommendations. We're going to vote on to leave it at, we're going to go through those and we'll vote on each one and let council decide where.
Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Any other comments from council? Okay, let's vote on the first recommendation.
Which is?
Let's pull it up, please.
For the people online so they can see it. Here we go. So the recommendation that is on the floor right now is this one. So refer it back to staff. And then the other ones are consider and approve the resolution as recommended. Okay.
Ellie, I can.
Okay.
Out for you.
Okay.
So do you want to vote on the first one and then consider the second? The resolution that would be to authorize an issue. So the council authorize an issue development variance permit number 23-012-BVP to vary the minimum front setback of an accessory building from 3 meters to 1.7 meters. And to vary the minimum interior side setback of an accessory building from 1.5 meters to 0.5 meters. For the property located at 49-1383 Silver Sands Road.
That is to allow the variance.
Correct.
If we vote on that first, the other 2 might be.
Yeah, exactly, might be moved. So we've got a first and a second. Let's vote on let's vote on this resolution
To allow the variance.
to allow the variance. All in favor?
Sorry, point of rule here,
Sorry.
point of order, or
Yeah.
whatever you call it. We've moved and seconded this recommendation, so you're changing it. We have to vote on this first. We have to deal with this. So if we don't want what's put on the table right now on the agenda, we have to vote against it.
Okay, so that's our recommendation of council deferred development variance permit back to staff is our recommendation right now. So for us to vote on approving this, we need to vote this one down. So all those in favor that we defer the development permit to 23012-DVP back to staff and the applicant work with staff to reduce the requested variance, all in favor? Okay, opposed? Carried. Democracy at work. Okay, so next we're going to read can you read that recommendation one more time, please, Sarah?
That council authorize and issue development variance permit number 23-012-DVP. To vary the minimum front setback of an accessory building from 3 meters to 1.7 meters, and to vary the minimum interior side setback of an accessory building from 1.5 meters to 0.5 meters for the property located at 49-1383 Silver Sands Road.
Could I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, second by Councillor Bushel. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Carried. Opposed? Malcolm and Councillor McCabe, Councillor Beach. Do we want to make note of the reason you're opposing?
Well, just because staff recommended to bring it back and discuss it.
Without going back.
Okay, thank you. Carried.
It's our first split vote, I think.
They've already.
Moving right along.
That type of day. So good. That type of day.
Minutes. We're going into public and statutory hearings and it begins at 6 o'clock and we have a minute before we can.
Oh. Okay.
About those Oilers.
Oh, well, we have to wait.
Yeah, it's only a minute, but we have to. Sarah?
Oh, man. That's, I just feel
And then.
low blood sugar and everything. Didn't. get
We have a
chance
meeting and everything. And then
I just feel like today's is like, boom, my brain is just absorbing a whole bunch of stuff that. I've been. It's boring the heck out of Malcolm. He's like, oh, I've seen all this stuff before and I'm here asking, well, I go, I've never seen any of this. Like, what's going on?
We gotta go back to that.
No, like.
We're not.
Even. Never heard of that until it came. Never.
All right, we're going to move forward. At this public hearing, council will consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment for property located at 926 Seed Frontage Road. The zoning bylaw amendment will be introduced by staff presenting a brief synopsis of the proposal. Following the introduction, I will open the floor to presentation by the public. Okay, Sarah, take it away.
Okay, hold on.
Good.
Thank you, Chair. At this public hearing, the council will consider District of Sitkim's zoning amendment bylaw number 1030-2023. This is an application to amend the zoning bylaw for property located at 926 Seed Frontage Road. The bylaw amendment would add a regulation to the C2 zone for this property. By amending section 4.4.2.10E by adding a site-specific regulation as follows. Lot 3, Section 6, Township 22, Range 7, west of the 6th Meridian, Kamloops Division of Yale District, Plan 6294, which is PID 04014-148-862, An employee dwelling unit may be a detached building sited to the side or rear of the principal use despite section 3.5.3. The public are invited to make presentations to council, and all persons who believe their interest in property is affected by the proposed amendment bylaws shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed amendment bylaws. Please direct all your comments through the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this hearing to debate the merits of the proposal with individual citizens. Please observe these rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chairperson. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you would like to make a presentation, please raise your hand. If you are attending through Zoom, to speak during the meeting, please click the hand icon to raise your hand electronically, and you will be in queue to speak. Your final opportunity to comment on the proposed amendment bylaws will be during the hearing, as members of council are not permitted to receive further submissions after the close of the hearing. Again, please direct all your comments to the chair by raising your hand or electronically raising your hand to speak. I will now provide a synopsis of the application. So 926C Frontage Road is located on the north side of the Trans-Canada Highway, just up the road from the 7-Eleven. Everyone is familiar with that. Next slide. You can see it again here. The official community plan designates the property as Highway Commercial B, and zoning bylaw designates the property as C2 Highway Commercial. So current regulations. So the current zone, which is C2, allows for an employee dwelling unit. It's a permitted accessory use on the property. Employee dwelling units, we've got the definition up here. They're basically for accommodation of the business owner or employees, and it does allow business owners to accommodate up to 5 unrelated employees in that unit, just an FYI. So further regulations on that is that they must be fully separated from the commercial building by walls or floors. So you know that that's not a separate building. They have to have a separate exterior entrance. There's a maximum of 25% floor area. So the proposed amendment, it would be to add a site-specific regulation in this zone just for this one property. And what it would do would allow the employee dwelling unit to be a detached building. In this case, the proponent is looking to site a mobile home. There's currently a temporary use permit in place for an RV that they've been living in for about a year. That permit expires next year, so they're on top of things, trying to get this done now. And so this regulation would also allow them to site that mobile home to the side or the rear of their existing business. So there is an existing business on the property for which there is an active license. Next slide. So for all those here for the public hearing, we've got our rules of conduct just up here on the screen. And
Okay, we'll open it up. Screen. Anyone in the gallery? Anyone on Zoom that wants to speak to this, just raise your hand. Okay, I'll call the question. I'll call the question the first time. Anyone, final words to speak to this amendment? Call the question a second time. Calling the question a third time. Okay, this public hearing is closed. Okay, so I'm gonna go into here, right? So the recommendation that the District of Sycamoose zoning amendment bylaw number 1030, 2023 be given third reading this 22nd day of March 2023, and that staff be directed to forward the bylaw to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Can I get a mover? Councillor Beach, Councillor Rich. Discussion? Councillor Bailey.
Just I guess a question. Why is it being referred to, is it being referred to MOTI?
Yep.
Why?
Through the chair, every zoning amendment that's within 800 meters of a controlled access highway, such as the Trans Canada, has to be approved by LGI. So we are able to do the reading today if council wishes. That would then refer the bylaw to MOTI to sign, and then we'd have to bring it back for council to consider for adoption.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, maybe I'll just make a okay, thank you. I support this. We talked about it at, again, planning and development, but I think it actually goes to housing strategy. It goes to allowing us flexibility to provide housing. And here's a business owner that obviously has that challenge as well. And I think this is an easy way for us to get some more housing. And I mean, personally, if it was up to me, I'd allow this on every single commercial property within, certain parameters, because I think, again, it's something that we could do that helps move the dial on some of our housing needs. But yeah, I support this proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, will the RV be removed? Like you were saying that that's coming up within a year. So will it be the new home going in plus the RV, or the RV will then be applied, like there'll be two residents?
Through the chair. So the proponent would have the option of keeping the RV on site while they do this work. They do have a temporary use permit in place for that. Trina Gill is here in the gallery if the chair would like to direct this question to her.
Go ahead, Trina.
Thank you very much. Our intention is to sell the RV and put permanent residence on there, so the RV was fun. Getting a little bit crowded, needless to say, so we just want to make a nice home where we can actually make a yard and do all that kind of stuff, but the RV will be removed.
Thank you.
The other place is permanently in place.
And how long, sorry, can I just ask you one question? How long do you think that build will take?
I'm sorry?
How long do you think that build will take? Like the RV has temporary use permit until next year? And when will the house be in place?
Well, as soon as we have the final go-ahead that we're good to go, we've already been speaking to dealers, so we've got one picked out. So we kind of told them as soon as we get the go from here, we'll give you the go to do it. We had one picked out, but it's been sold since then, so we'll have to have one built, but their build times are fairly quickly now, so we're looking at 2 months.
Okay.
Quick now, so it'll be by summertime, sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments, council? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And order your house. Okay, so moving right along. District of Sycamore zoning amendment bylaw 1035/2023. 1005 Riverside Avenue, first and second reading. Recommendation is that the District of Sycamore zoning amendment bylaw number 1035/2023 be given first and second reading this 22nd day of March 2023. Sarah, do you want to take it away?
Thank you, Chair. There we go. We got the slide we need. So this is the location of the property in question. So it's at the corner of Webb and Riverside Avenue, and it is hooked across Riverside Avenue and includes that narrow strip across the road that's shown on the right-hand side of the screen there. Next slide. Next slide. So the official community plan designates these properties. There's two designations. So this parcel, because it's split, it's kind of in two areas. So Riverside Transition Area, which is shown in pink, and the commercial waterfront town center. So it'll be the waterfront portion of the property. The zoning bylaw zones it as MUR2 seasonal accommodation. And as a result of previous discussions with the property owner and a different development proposal. Slide.
So the current proposal would be to change the MUR2 zone to the C3 zone, which is a waterfront commercial zone. They're looking at doing a mix of residential and tourist accommodation here. They're looking at 5 to 10 unit multifamily buildings that are 1 story in height. Would be a total of 103 units that are about 29 square meters, which is around 300 square feet. There would also be 167 parking stalls proposed here. So this is the density of about 71 units per hectare. Both of these existing zones allow sleeping units up to 120. So sleeping units would be like hotel units. Residential is only 20. So you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, we've got a site layout that shows how this would look. There's a little orange square on there. That would be where their commercial uses. The proponent has been talking about having like a laundromat and maybe some other, maybe small retail there that would be oriented to Riverside Avenue. They're considering the walkway. They're showing that in here. And there is an existing marina there already that already has a renewed tenure and it's been rebuilt to meet current requirements. So down on the bottom of the screen there is an image of what the units look like, blocks of 5. So staff are recommending giving first and second reading to this amendment bylaw for the purpose of getting this to public consultation and getting feedback from the public on this application. If the bylaw is ultimately adopted, the proponents will still need to go through the development permit process. So not only for form and character, what it looks like, and for the walkway, but also for the riparian area because it is on the waterfront. You could see some changes in the proposal, like being reworked to kind of accommodate these other factors. The land's also in the floodplain and may or may not meet flood construction level, but we'll know more as it moves along.
Okay, I have read the recommendation already. Could I have a mover? Councillor Rich, Councillor Bushel. Okay, let's open it up for discussion. Councillor Bushel, do you want to, this came to the planning committee? Councillor Bailey.
Through the chair, thank you. Yeah, this came to the planning committee last meeting, and I think we had full support for the from the group of 4 that looked at the proposal. I really think we should move it forward so we can get some public input. And yeah, I support it. And it's, you know, it's not as high as density as I'd like to see. But you know, that property sat vacant for quite a few years, and you know, they did upgrade it and put a new marina in a few years ago, and it's being run as a marina. But it'd be nice to see some residential on there, and this could add some, you know, you wouldn't want to say multi-families can live in these like big families, but at least you have some accommodation, and they will be affordable. So I support this.
Thank you, Councillor Bushel. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, just touching on what Councillor Bushel just mentioned, this is to advance it forward. I think it's worthy of public consultation, and there's going to be probably some views on that we'll hear. And as Sarah mentioned, that, you know, as this goes forward, this might even morph. One of my concerns was about the density on the site, but I think I certainly support it going forward, because I think it's worthwhile to get that public comment back and see where we are. So I definitely support it first and second reading. And I should just add, like, this site has been vacant for multiple years. It's being used right now as houseboat storage or just general storage, which we never had that intention in mind on Riverside. So we have I think a housing proposal here that gets us to a place where we want to kind of see Riverside grow into. So
awesome. Thanks, Councillor Bailey. Any Councillor McCabe?
So 312 square feet, 29 cubic meters or square meters. What is the proposed selling price? I think did I see 320,000 per unit? What's the suggested sale price per unit?
Is the developer online?
So
Kevin, are you online? Kevin?
In around the 320,000 area per unit.
Oh, there.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi,
Hi, Councillor McCabe is inquiring about price point.
yeah, starting in the low 300s, so, you know, the 319, 329.9.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other councillor questions? All right, let's call the question and all those in favor. Opposed? It's carried. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving forward. District of Sycamoose Parks Regulation Bylaw, amending bylaw number 1034, 2023, third reading. It's recommendation that the District of Sycamoose Parks Regulation amending bylaw 1034, 2023 be given third reading as amended this 22nd day of March 2023. So this is decriminalize. Before we, could I get a mover? Councillor Beach, Councillor McCabe. And before we start, Councillor Converse, can I just have a moment, just because we've had so many conversations about this and a lot of input from our residents in Sycamoose, and not only from them, but from people outside of our area as well that are supporting our bylaw. So just to give you a quick overview, in 2020, the City of Vancouver Council forwarded a resolution to decriminalize illicit drugs to help deal with overdosing at home. That was their thought process with this. The resolution downloaded this issue to every BC community, even those that have no or very few issues with these unfortunate addiction problems. One of the doctors, and I have been involved in a couple of interviews, one of the doctors commented that Sycamoose does not have this issue currently and will probably not affect them. However, we've heard loud and clear from our community that they don't want to take this chance, especially in our family spaces, and we agree. So even though they discourage us putting this bylaw in, we still would like to move forward with it, as that's why we're here with the third reading. So it remains status quo. We'd like to continue to protect our children from witnessing trauma. I don't understand why we have empathy. I know it's a mental health issue. Normalizing this is not the solution for the residents of Sycamoose that we want to see. Not only the trauma of seeing someone OD or die, the mental health and safety of our children and our community. Trained police officers have been injured, helping individuals with medical health issue. This law puts our most vulnerable residents at risk. This led to a human rights discussion. Why would we not give rights to addicts with mental health issues? Are rights more important than theirs? Our residents and taxpayers need to also have their rights protected, and that's why we sit in these chairs. Perhaps another look at this pilot project and narrow it down to places like Vancouver, where this is a huge problem. Perhaps they could pilot the project and roll it out if it's successful. Decriminalizing people who use drugs is not the problem. In conversation with the RCMP, small possession charges have not been happening for years. So 2.5 grams, people don't get arrested for those amounts. There's not really real evidence that this program will work either. There is a bit of it, but it has not worked in some states and countries, and in some the problem has increased. This is a bit of a cross your fingers solution. The provincial government is social engineering to place individuals who need professional qualified assistance under the guidelines of the Good Neighbor policy. You cannot expect people to stop and assist if someone is overdosing. As a parent, I would protect my child. I would pick my child up and leave. So I'm afraid that this solution isn't going to solve a problem. The law remains illegal. in elementary and secondary schools and licensed childcare facilities. How does our water park and beach park be allowed under this law when we have more children in those spaces all at once than our daycare playgrounds? These are some of the conversations and questions and information that was brought to us as council, and that's why we're sitting here with the third reading. We do understand this is a serious problem, and Lori, bless her heart, was here today to speak to this. We do understand this is a serious problem. Mental health issues and addictions are real. A real solution should be with qualified professionals and dedicated country space where you can receive safe drugs as needed, counseling as needed, beds, bathrooms, meals, fresh air, a walk down a country or a walk down a path. Healing is better with Mother Nature. I don't think a solution is 10 more beds in a facility where we're already cramped. I think that adds more anxiety. I think that this problem requires a better solution than the direction that we're going right now. So I will, before we continue, I'll open it up to council and to Kelly, and I think you have, Kelly, do you want to comment first and then we'll let council?
Sure, yes, through the chair. I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention what has been amended in this bylaw since you last saw it. Based on feedback that has been received, as you know, since we did first, second reading, we had the medical officer come to our lab. And since then, we have modified these areas where we are prohibiting the use of the illicit drugs to be more specific to where children play or where there'll be vulnerable people. So we thought as a group, the nature trail, the Sycamus Beach Park, Finlayson Park, Lions Park, and any designated kids area were the most relevant ones. Ones that we took off were dedicated parks, but they're unkept parklands. So like by Hillier Road or Cartier Road. So they weren't highly used parks where kids are. So we removed those off the bylaw and just focused on the areas where people are at the most risk.
Councilors' comments. Councilor Bushel.
The chair, yeah, thank you very much for that, Kelly. You know, the 2 mile Flocky Beach, was that, that's not on there. Like, I'm just wondering if there's a few other parks that should be on there. But I'm not 100% sure. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention.
It was on the draft bylaw for first and second reading and has since been removed with a focus on areas where
kids play,
children's play areas.
Councilor Bailey.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same point. I think it should be on there. My view, and I take why staff has come forward with this to kind of narrow the scope of it. I mean, my view remains that it's public spaces and public spaces are there for the public to use. Now, that being said, I'm, practical and reasonable that if this is going to, I think, make the bylaw stronger, then I support it. But I do think all the parks and where we're going to have people congregating with families, and certainly the Flocky Beach Park well, it's not a park, but we know a lot of people go there. We know a lot of families go there. So all those spaces I think should be included if we want to have this bylaw really try to protect families. And I think that's just one of the areas. Maybe we have to go through the list again. I'm not quite sure, but I would definitely be adding some of those other public spaces to it.
Councilor Beach.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, I hadn't thought of Flocky's Beach, but yeah, I think that maybe might want to take another look at making sure that everything's on that list. I do think that it will be stronger with us designating the parks that are primarily gathering spots and play areas for children and families. I don't think we can get away with all public spaces, but yeah, probably the beach park out at 2 miles should be included, so.
Thanks, Councillor Beach. Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Bay that I voted in all public spaces. I understand after consulting with Interior Health and make this more defensible as a council, as a community, to be specific in the locations, but I think Flocky's Beach should be on there as a minimum for sure. And I go to dog park every day and there's lots of kids that go with their parents. And
That's a good point.
So, you know, the beach and sandbar and the dog park. So I think to keep it strong, yeah, be site specific, but I would add Flocky's and the dog park.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, has Campbell River been challenged by the?
Speak to this, yeah.
Yeah, so they've since repealed their bylaw because they prohibited in all public spaces and really it legally isn't really it won't be allowable. So they have now repealed it and they are putting forward a new bylaw designating specific children's play areas. And specific areas similar to how the province has said, you know, they don't want it at daycares or other play areas. So to back off of that, then that's the direction it has a more legal ground to stand on. So that there's still safe places, other places. Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Through the chair. So are there communities where it has, if we designate our parks, are there communities where it is standing, or are they challenging absolutely everything? Or we don't.
I think that we are probably, I think every other community is taking a wait and see.
Okay.
Approach. Our residents and council has decided not to wait and see. I mean, we are elected by our residents to take care of business here in Sycamus and make sure the safety of our children and our most vulnerable is first on our priority list. So, Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, I just want to note that Campbell River's bylaw that they used to pass this was a public nuisance bylaw, and noting the sensitivity around stigma and negative stigma attached to this, which is what IHA is really saying is it is a problem. I know it's a problem for people approaching for help, for using safe injection sites, everything. So that might have not sat well. Ours is a parks bylaw. And I would, there's, I think, one use of the word nuisance. I read through the bylaw at the end, not this one that's here, but I read through something supporting the bylaw that had the word nuisance at the end. I think if we keep the wording as impartial in terms of not placing negative stigma, and we do this, I hope that they won't challenge that, but I could see reading when looking at Campbell Rivers why they felt that was not.
Councillor Beach. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I was just going to propose an amendment. I mean, and I see that you have the old list up there as well, which I think I'd be fine with that. Or I'd also just throw it out there. Maybe we could add all public beaches. Because that's a fairly legal, like if you're on a beach that's below the high water mark, then that's a public space and that's a beach. But I'm also happy to go back to this. Yours is probably a lot more, precise than what I just mentioned.
So perhaps we should the list that we have right now that we're proposing, we should add the dog park and add 2 mile.
Right, so, and we've got the ones that aren't on there that were on previously were Cartier Road, which is not, it's technically a designated park, but it's not used. And then same with Hillier Road and Tecumseh. So Tecumseh is more of a used beach area. So to add that in addition to adding the dog park, which wasn't on here previously. Right, so.
Do we need to make an amendment?
Yeah, to make it, yeah, and then we'll vote on the amendment and then we'll read the resolution as amended.
Go ahead, Councillor Bailey.
I'd like to make an amendment to refer back to number 23, prohibition of use of illicit drugs, and the list attached to said 23.23.
Not,
No, I don't think we
No.
want to know everything on this.
Okay.
Just want to
one to three.
Tecumseh Road, which is Flocky Beach, as well as the dog park.
Okay, so amend to allow Tecumseh and the dog park.
Hey, can I get a seconder on that? Counselor Rich? Any discussion? We call the question. All in favor of the amendment? Carried. Opposed? Yeah, carried. Okay, now we're going back to the original bylaw as amended.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call the question on the original bylaw as amended. All of those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Good job.
So that will be going now to the medical officer, and we'll wait to hear back from him, and then it'll be brought back to council for adoption.
Okay. All right, so, yep,
I'm not sure. Okay. To the chair. When we send in the bylaw, our new bylaw, can we also include some discussion around being open? No, we can't. We can't do anything about being open to talk about other solutions.
I don't think this is a conversation. I don't think he wants to have this conversation with every municipality in British Columbia. So, yeah, no, I'm
Where I'm coming from though, right?
I know we've already voted on this, but I don't understand what Kelly just said, that why does it have to go to the tier
Because they've
health?
asked for it.
And because we just passed third reading, isn't that now law?
No, adoption is. So third reading and then adoption. So prior to, it's no different than being referred to MOTI. So this is getting referred to the medical officer, as that's what has been suggested for them to comment on it.
Okay.
And then it's not formally required, but that's what it's being recommended. Did you want to elaborate on that?
The council didn't ask for that.
No, it's.
Sorry, just when Dr. Jonathan Mallow was here for committee of the whole, he specifically requested that we submit the bylaw after third reading to him.
For review, but not adoption.
Prior to us adopting it.
So it's normally third reading and then adoption. I thought third reading was adoption. What am I missing? Sorry.
You can, do you want to take it?
Go ahead.
And then adoption, or you can do third reading, like, and you can do them separately or together, depending on the bylaw and as it progresses. After third reading, though, there's not really any changes normally. It's like, it's pretty much like law. So it's a formality to do that.
I didn't realize council agreed to send this to tier health for as referral. I don't remember that discussion.
I just.
Counselor
I
Bailey.
remember the interior health, I'm sorry, the interior health officer asking to be sent for review. I didn't read into that review required his approval or their.
I don't think he's saying that. Go ahead.
Counselor Bailey.
So this is my recollection based on that, and I'm kind of with you, Malcolm. I understand why we're sending it to him. Because he said that we had a duty to consult the medical officer of health for this to be valid. And he did also say during that time, he says he hopes that we would send it to him through reading. My view, personal view, but again, I'm happy to go through the hoops here. We did consult him. We gave him plenty of time to ask. We asked them really good questions. I don't know if we got really good answers. So, I mean, I'll just say that I think we had a pretty robust consultation, but I agree with the spirit in which Councillor McCabe is coming from here. I agree with it. I do think we should send it to him one more time, though, just to give him all the opportunities in the world.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, if we send it to him, it doesn't matter what his comments are, we will adopt it.
That's up to council. right? That's really up to council. But they're recommending that it go to them and our legal is recommending that it goes to them and that
Okay.
we pretty much give them a bylaw and wait for a response and then go from there.
Okay,
So I'll just add that any bylaws related to public health, they have certain requirements. So one is the duty to consult the regional medical health officer, may need approval from the minister. But whether this bylaw is related to public health, it's a parks bylaw related to public space. And so if the medical health officer provided comments, we might have a duty to at least formally consider comments under section 83(1)(c) of the Public Health Act prior to final adoption of the bylaw, as to be seen at this point.
Sorry, Sarah, what? Did you repeat that?
If the bylaw is deemed to be surrounding public health, there's certain requirements. So one is consulting the health officer, and it may require approval from the Minister of Health. We're sending a bylaw for him to review as requested. And if he provides comments, we might have a duty to at least consider comments under the Public Health Act prior to adoption. We're not at that point yet.
Oh, okay.
okay, right. So, okay, let's move on then. We've third reading and away we go. It will go off to Dr. Mallow. Okay, so notices of motion, BC Association of Community Health Centers letter of support request. There's a proposed motion that staff be directed to send a letter to the Shuswap MLA as requested by the BC Association of Community Health Services regarding the 2023 provincial budget and access to healthcare using the community healthcare model. Can I get, if it's proposed, do I need a mover? Or it's just.
It's coming from Pam, so
Okay.
Pam would be.
Would you like to speak to this, Pam?
Councillor.
Yes, thank you. Just so that everybody understands that this came out of the BC Association of Community Healthcare Centers attending a budget meeting and seeing that community health centers were not a line item at all on the health care budget. So it raised a lot of alarm. I did follow up with Paul Adams, who's the executive director of the Rural Health Network, and that's a fairly big voice amongst CHCs. And he said there's a lot of sort of concern that this implies a very low priority. And I also just want to point out that in January, we just came through a week of conferencing on called Breathe and Weave, that was basically discussion across BC on rural health and the gap, the disconnection between services and consultation and access on a huge area and all through BC. And the consensus by the time we were done, and there were hundreds of people involved in that, was that we needed to bring services closer to home. And we needed to support community health centers in areas providing services. So I think that's the concern, is that was sponsored by Interior Health and the universities. There were standing, the joint standing committee is like the one level that tells the government, the Ministry of Health, what decisions need to be prioritized and what needs to be done. They were running the breakout sessions. The standing committee, the joint standing committee, was part of this conference. So it is really concerning to think that there was no mention at all in the budget about community health centers. So I totally recommend we need to speak loud and clear on the importance and why we need to have these community health centers in our areas.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. Councillor McCabe.
Good catch, Pam.
Yep.
Thanks.
So I guess we're just looking for council support for a letter to go to our MLA. All in favor? Okay, we support
And CC whoever necessary.
and CC whoever necessary. Okay, so resolutions released from in camera. This is for public information only, that the following information be released from in camera. The District of Sycamoose was investigated by the Office of the Ombudsperson in relation to the Shuswap Healing Center project. Complaints filed that the district did not adequately consult with the public regarding the project and that the district did not adhere to parkland disposition requirements within the community charter. The Office of the Ombudsman concluded that it did not identify administrative unfairness with the district's public engagement process, and the community green space was not parkland for the purpose of the community charter. Therefore, electoral approval was not required, and the files have been closed without further investigation. So that's been released from in camera, just for general public. Okay, so the Canadian Federation of Municipalities Conference and Trade Center recommended to rescind, the council rescind resolution number 23-111 from the March 8th, 2023 regular council meeting, that Mayor Anderson and Councillor Evans be selected to attend the 2023 Canadian Federation Municipalities Conference and Trade Show in Toronto, Ontario from May 25th to 28th. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bushel, Councillor Beach, any discussion? Could I get all in favor? Thank you. I lost a word. Okay, recommendation that Mayor Anderson and name be selected to attend the 2023 Canadian Federation of Municipalities Conference and Trade Show in Toronto, Ontario from May 25th to 28th. Can I get a mover? Councillor Beach, Councillor Rich, discussion. So I will start this. We don't necessarily have to send a council member. Pam had put up her hand, but Pam is needed in another space at another seminar. So we don't need to send a counselor. So if there is no one else that wants to volunteer, we are good to go with just myself and perhaps CEO Bennett. Okay, let's call the question. All in favor? Any more discussion?
Yeah, just, I can't go, but I mentioned it a year ago, I can't remember, and that was when Jen was around and maybe council can't go, but I think it would be a really big learning curve for somebody like Sarah to go and see how FCM or UBCM, especially UBCM. I mean, I've always said UBCM because, they put everything together for it, but if you actually go and see what happens, they would learn from it. But that's just mine. I would make a recommendation. I don't know if Sarah can even go or is allowed to go. Sorry, Kelly.
I know this. I've been on council for 8 years and this is my first trip to FCM. So I'm looking forward to finding those nuggets and how to navigate it and where to be. And this is Kelly's first trip to FCM as well. So this is a big one. So, and Sarah is new as well. So I agree if Sarah, Kelly's got budget money for that in her store somewhere. Go ahead, Councilor Bushel.
Well, Malcolm and I guess are the only ones that have gone. And are we okay to let these girls go?
Sound like the old mayor.
No, but I mean, haven't been to one, so. But it would be good for the range.
I don't care. I mean.
Ian,
Yeah, just.
sorry, Councillor Bailey.
But no, that's fine. Ian is fine. No, I think you touched on a really important point. And actually, we have a conference before FCM and I mentioned it to Sarah, but I'll mention it in open. It like Silga, something like that. It's really good to start at those things because then you see how the resolution process and we're having Sarah develop all these resolutions. So I mean, I'd recommend that one too. Yeah, and I'll leave this to Kelly, but it's nice to see how the process goes because Silga flows into UBCM flows into FCM, and it's all kind of similar but different at the same time. So the experience is good.
So, okay, thank you. And it's not our job, for
No.
to decide on Sarah, but, we will leave it with me and no counselor. All in favor? Carried. Okay, let's continue moving along here. Select Finance Committee meeting, recommendation that the Select Finance Committee meeting be scheduled to meet in council chambers on Wednesday, March the 29th, 2023 at 9 a.m. to review and discuss the draft District of Sycamoose financial plan bylaw. Can I get a mover?
Oh, can I just, can I say something before we have a mover? And it's just, I didn't know this meeting was going to take place. I have to go to Ontario and I'm not back till about 10 a.m. that day. I think we're considering quite a few important things at this meeting, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to be part of it, but obviously if it.
So can we table this and or do you want to decide right now on a new date? Oh, sorry, Councillor Rich.
And I'm actually away March 29th. My child has an important doctor's appointment I can't miss.
Hey, Councillor Beach, you can't make it on the 29th either.
Oh, no, aren't we in retreat on the, oh, it's the 29th or the 28th?
30th.
We're in retreat on the
What else?
29th and 30th, aren't we?
30th.
Yes.
So what other date do we have that we can,
Is it the date or the time?
What
is
decision?
it the day or the time?
I
Councillor Rich can't be there as well.
Yeah, I've got to go to Kelowna for an all-day doctor's appointment, so.
What are we deciding at the meeting?
Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, through the chair. So we are summarizing the budget. We don't know where our tax increase is yet, so we have everything pulled together. It's our draft one where we're pulling everything together prior to doing our proper presentation and getting. It's already out in the public. We're bringing it all together and presenting it.
Okay.
But I would, the goal is to, because we have two council meetings, we have to get the bylaw adopted. We got April 12th and we got May 10th, right? So we need to do first, second, third reading on April 12th. Or we have a special meeting, or we talk finance committee on April 12th and we have a special meeting just to do the presentation of the financial plan. Or we try to get a meeting.
Do you want to, how does April the 4th at the same time work for everyone?
They're at a housing.
Juan and I are, Councillor Rich and I are away.
Yeah.
Oh, the housing one in Vancouver.
For how long?
The 3rd to the 5th.
What about the 6th?
I'm away.
Traveling back on the 5th. I think in the afternoon.
What about Monday, the 10th?
Easter Monday.
Oh,
It's not a holiday. It's.
it is for government,
We can do it in the morning,
isn't it?
take it before council,
Can we just make the marathon meeting?
just make it an extra long day.
Oh,
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is everybody's really busy, so what we can do is, how about on April the 12th, so on the council meeting day? And if we have to arrange a special meeting, we can arrange a special meeting afterwards. For the person, depending on time, because we have to do, we advertise before we do our presentation as well, and that goes, so we may have to do another meeting in there before the May 10th meeting, specifically for the financial plan presentation, which is totally fine. We've done it before.
And we can't do the 11th because can we do the 11th?
11th is.
Why don't we do it on the 11th and lighten up the 12th?
Well, I like cramming her into one day, so 2 days.
Okay, whatever. It's.
Are we talking about
in and
a 9 o'clock?
we have our wits about us, right?
One day,
Could I suggest the 3rd, which is the Monday, April 3rd? I'm not sure what people.
Yeah, Siobhan and I are.
Oh,
no, they're
sorry.
gone, they're
Sorry,
gone.
sorry.
Councillor Rich and myself are, you know.
So we could do the 11th, the morning of the 11th or the morning of the 12th, whatever you guys. If you want to do it all in the more action-packed fun day,
morning of the.
It's just, for those of us that work, it kind of cuts our day. It takes a day out of work, a whole day. So it's,
I can.
sorry, I'm not quite retired yet, so.
So you're saying
Neither am I.
for the 11th?
I would prefer the 11th for at the morning of the 11th for 2 hours or 3 hours, and then I can go work for the rest of the day, and then I can work Wednesday morning. So that's my personal opinion. I'd like to, Gordon, what do you think?
I'm easy. I can do 11th or 12th. It doesn't matter.
Whatever works best for everyone. If you guys want to do it.
11th, good.
I'm easy either way.
Okay, we can all do the 11th.
Okay, at 9 o'clock on the
11 and, yeah.
9.
Okay, thank you, guys. So, Tuesday, April the 11th at 20. Can everybody hear? We didn't vote on
The 11th?
Didn't vote on
No, we didn't even get a motion.
second that one?
No,
No.
I was stopped.
Yeah.
I was stopped. Recommendation that the Select Finance Committee meeting be scheduled to meet in council chambers on Tuesday, April the 11th, 2023 at 9 a.m. to review and discuss the draft district of Sycamoose Financial Plan bylaw. Can I get a mover? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach. Any discussion? All in favor? How come I know you wanted to add?
Not a big deal. I'm good.
Okay. Eagle River Secondary School District to Sycamoose Scholarships recommendation that council authorize an expense of 1,000 academic sponsorship and 2,500 achievement scholarships to be awarded to Eagle River Secondary School 2023 graduates who, number one, plan to continue their education at a post-secondary institution within 2 years of graduation, and 2, are current residents of Sycamoose. Can I get a mover? Councillor Rich, Councillor Beach, any discussion on this? I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay. BC Association of Farmers Market letter of support request. The question here is, does council want to send this letter? Go ahead, Councillor Beach.
To the chair, I would recommend that we do. I think it's the farmer's market. Yeah, the farmer's market worked very well supporting the community with the coupons supplied through the Eagle Valley Community Support Society. So I think it's a really beneficial program.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll just read the recommendation and we can vote on a recommendation that staff be directed to send a thank you letter to the Honorable Adrian Dix, Minister of Health, to support ongoing funding for the BC Farmers Market Nutrition Coupon Program. Can I get a mover? Councillor Beach, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, Foundation Emergence International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia Proclamation Request. I'm not sure what we're looking for here. It's for council discussion.
Through the chair.
Thanks.
This is a proclamation request. So council recently approved the proclamation for the BC Epilepsy Society on March 26th. This is a similar request related to the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. Since we've been receiving more proclamation requests, I was doing some digging and noticed that we have a proclamations policy that may be out of date. Based on this policy, it says that council will only consider requests from proclamations from organizations which will derive benefit to the community. In consideration of any request for proclamations requires local sponsorship. I don't know that that policy still stands. And so the one piece is, does council want to proclaim this day? And there's a resolution here. And then the second piece is whether council wants to direct staff to revise the policy, bring it back for consideration.
Councillor Bailey,
I think Pam.
Councillor Beach.
Yeah.
Oh, was that do both things or just one or the other? I think we should proclaim the day. I would recommend that. And if we need to adjust the policy, then we should review the policy or have staff review the policy.
Councillor Bailey.
I agree. I think we should proclaim the day, but then this policy is like 22 years old or 23. So probably an okay thing to look at. So, yeah.
Okay, so what would you need from us to,
So I'll have, this is.
Do you got recommendations?
This is the proclamations, you would just need to.
read all of these? Right. That's a proclamation. Whereas the Quebec Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms recognizes that no one can be discriminated against on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. Whereas Quebec is a society open to everyone, including lesbians, gay, bisexuals, and trans people, LGBTQ+, and to all other people who identify with sexual diversity and multiplicity of gender identities and expressions. Whereas despite recent efforts towards a gender or a greater inclusion of LGBT people, homophobia and transphobia are still present in society. Whereas May 17th is the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia is celebrated as much in many countries and is the result of a Quebec-based initiative promoted by Foundation Emergence starting in 2003. Whereas there is reason to support the efforts of Foundation Emergence in holding this day. It is a resolution to proclaim May 17th International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia and to recognize this day as such. Did I get a move?
Amendment.
Pardon?
Can I make an amendment?
Sure.
Yeah. I think we should take out, we should make some housekeeping amendments or direct staff to make a housekeeping amendment. Just to. Sorry, Sarah, do you want to, yeah.
This request is coming as presented, so council would either support it or not support.
Well, Quebec, why are we mentioning? Where is the Quebec Charter of Rights and Freedoms?
So I guess the question here is, I'm gonna get a mover first.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey, seconder. Councillor Rich. Okay, now let's discuss if we want to, what we want to do with this.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess it's very Quebec focus. I think from my point of view, I certainly agree with the principles behind the, the declaration here. But I just wonder, I guess this is a little difficult because I wasn't expecting it to mention Quebec really. So that's kind of my difficulty, whether we could just amend it to make it, more relevant, like on a Canada level or BC level. That's all. But
Can I just, can we choose to recognize this day and not pass this? Like, do we need to, I think part of the problem is this resolution. But I think that we support. I think council supports the content.
Without cut and pasting this resume, we can make a proclamation. Like, we don't have to follow this exact resolution. We can proclaim that May 17th is international.
Sure, and that's exactly, rather than using all of this, that's what I'm saying. We can just recognize the day. But we don't have to. Yeah. Okay, so let's defeat this resolution.
I don't think, was there a first and seconder on it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
well, I can withdraw my,
Yeah.
can I just withdraw my motion or
You can't.
I moved
No.
it?
Got a mover and a seconder. I don't think you can change your
You
mind.
gotta defeat it. I can't just.
I think we have to defeat it.
I mean, in principle, as Kelly said, you're agreeing to proclaim May 17th as the International Day.
So we won't write this resolution, we'll write that,
Write it.
support the proclamation of May 17th.
Okay.
Have to vote against this technically. We'll make sure our minutes document.
So we're not going to vote on this at all?
We'll vote to
Going to carry it.
Or,
Support it.
okay,
All in favor?
with no Quebec prices.
Okay,
correct.
all right,
Yes, I know that.
got it.
Super clear.
Yep.
Super
There. Okay, now we're gonna go into, we've got a lot of. We got a lot of correspondence. I'm sure that there's counselors that want to speak to some of this. We do have a lot of support on here for the decriminalization of illicit drugs. So those are added onto the bottom for those of you that haven't read those yet. Does anyone want to speak to Interior Health PSA avalanche risk and safety? Okay, UBCM provincial response to 2022 resolutions. I would like to, because that resolution is, do we have it handy?
The resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amendments.
Oh, actually,
Right here.
so we put in a resolution that requested that individuals that are recruited and paid by organizations to protest on their behalf create a false perception of public opinion of matters of community interest. So it was endorsed at UBCM, but it is, can you scroll up a bit? From the attorney, no, the other way, sorry, down. So from the Attorney General, government is not currently engaging in an analysis of this issue and takes no position on the resolution. So basically what the government said was, unless you're a business and you are going to dial us up and tell us that this is an unfair practice, you as a community cannot make a resolution to make it illegal to be a protester, a paid protester. So I just wanted to mention that resolution was defeated by FCM. But I don't feel, in my mind, I don't think it's fair because I just don't think that paid protesters have a place. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about on that one. Malcolm, does anyone want to talk to Minister Bob Fleming, Ministry of Transportation?
Kind of did already.
Yes, we did, but we did decide earlier in Cal that we will be writing a follow-up letter to Jennifer Fraser regarding our corridor. Okay.
Was it
Sorry, go ahead.
Jennifer Fraser we're sending that to or the minister?
Staff.
Probably start with staff and see what her response comes back with, and then if we don't like her response, then we go we'll hire up the. Okay, so anything else in here?
Yeah, well, the next one, we didn't get our grant for our Finlayson boat launch. Is that right?
Kelly, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we didn't get our grant for two projects. One was the Finlayson boat launch, which we applied for about just under 3.5 million, as well as another 150 for a community transportation plan. We got denied both. But we did receive our 1.7 million. I think the timing was strategic. That came out, and then this notification came out. 190 applicants were received, and they only gave out money to 45. So that's about 25% of the total applicants, or even under that, actually received any funding. So the majority didn't. So we were with the majority here in terms of their grant awarding. But you know, you win some, you lose some.
Go ahead, Cal.
That wasn't, but we weren't planning on that to do the boat launch currently, were we?
Yeah, but we had it funded by grant money, so we're rejigging the budget. We've been working.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, correct.
Find another way.
Great.
Onward and upward. Okay, I'd like to make a motion on the Rural Coordination Center, British Columbia, BC Rural Health Award, which will be held in Whistler. I'd like to make a motion that Councillor Beach attend on behalf of the District of Sycamus with Karen Eastland. I get Councillor Rich. Councillor Bailey. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Do I get to?
Well, that
Hey,
was
pass Pam.
easy, but thanks, Pam.
What's the date?
Second to the fourth of June,
Oh.
or the fourth.
June 2nd to the 14th.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
does anyone else have anything on correspondence they'd like to discuss? Okay, if not, I'd like to open the floor to the gallery. Wow, you guys are patient tonight. Thank you. Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, I was very disappointed that, when the people were here to discuss big issues, like the development at 2 Mile, that it wasn't open to, it's not that I'm not in favor of it, but we should have been able to ask like a couple questions. It was hard to like, we go down to that beach for years. And thanks to Daryl, and you might not have to do it anymore, eh? Get the porta potties down there. And when a big development like that comes into a town, lots of times the district will talk to them and make arrangements for them maybe to provide something for the public. And I was very confused, even though I've gone there for years, where like there's only about 3 parking stalls down there, and the people at 2 Mile, there's lots of people there, and there's pathways through down to get there. So there's a lot of people that use that beach. Now, were you talking this end where the porta potties go, or the other end where off the highway now because all the trailers are gone?
Are you talking where the development, where the residential development is gonna go? I think it's on the north, Daryl, am I heading in the right direction? On the north, where the trailers used to be.
That simplifies it to me.
Yeah.
You know, when you say north, I don't know which
Yeah,
side.
and that's why we allow public input at the end, because we can't have conversations, because we'd be here till, you know, with every development and everything that comes up. So yes, it's where the trailers used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in that topic there, Flocky's Beach, has that been a brand new name for it?
Yes, it was, I went through the process. It was, there was a survey done to the public and
Must have been just recently.
it was last summer, so like early.
Be nice to see a nice plaque.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And with the discussion over the development down Riverside Road, like all people are talking about low-cost housing. What is low-cost housing and how do they afford it? Young couples coming up. Now, this development that is proposed down Riverside, there was a question brought up to the fella about the cost of the building. But what are the strata fees? And what are the strata fees going to include?
I don't think he's at that, or Gord, you can take it away. I don't think he's at that point yet. I think that there's more of a robust conversation that's going to be happening with the developer and the community prior to that moving ahead. I think, correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
Mary,
Is it going to be strata?
oh yeah, it'll be a strata. It'll be a strata, but it'll go to the public. I mean, we're just moving it forward, so it does go to
No,
the,
I understand that, but I was just curious, you know, like
yeah.
in the future, like to really include all those kind of things so that people know exactly what they're gonna have to put out.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I've heard horror stories with stratus now too, that certain things aren't included and they're having to come up with a fair amount of money out of their pocket, so.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, the district doesn't have anything to do with the strata or strata rules. So I mean, that's an independent business on its own. So we don't make up.
No, you don't, but it's a development that's coming into town. And maybe the community could benefit from a walkway or a.
So can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think we talked about this the other day in the restaurant. So there, and it didn't really get touched on tonight, and I think it will get touched on as we go forward. There is some amenities to that development.
Amenities, that's the word.
Yeah, and those should be explained a little bit more to the public. I understand where you're coming from. There is the walkway. We didn't really touch on that tonight. And I think the reason why we didn't really get into it too deep is it's just moving it forward. Now we're getting into the public process of it and the comments. So there's gonna be, I think there's gonna be a pretty robust discussion on it, Mary, but I really take your point. It's a good point.
Anyway, everybody's tired and wants to go home.
Are there anyone zoomed in that has any questions?
They're probably all sleeping.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so we are now going to move back in camera. So we're going to adjourn the regular council meeting at 7:15.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
22nd, 2023.